Hello, everyone. We're giving the audience a few seconds to join. Great, and I think people have joined, so we can start the webinar. This is Sabrina Paganoni. I'm connecting from the HEALEY Center for ALS at Mass General, and this is our weekly webinar update. As always, I'm here with our patient navigation team, Catherine Small and Alison Bullock. And tonight, I'm really excited to have as our guest speaker, Brandy Quarles, the head of the research group in ALS at Augusta University in Georgia. And so Brandy has really been a great partner and has been working on so many studies for ALS and coordinates the group there, the research group. So with that, I think we can go to the next slide. We see a beautiful picture of Brandy, and Brandy, take it away.
Well, thank you very much for having me this evening or this late afternoon. As Dr. Paganoni said, I am the research operations coordinator. I manage all of the clinical trials here at Augusta University, and I've been with Dr. Michael Rivner for 13 years. We've got Dr. Benjamin Barnes, who joined us about rolling on 3 years ago, and we have a great group. So I'm happy to talk about anything that anyone's interested to know about our site, and if there's anything we can do to help any other sites, we're happy to do it. So
that's great, and I think we have a few pictures of you and your great group on the next slide. Yeah.
So I did it this way because, you know, a lot of times we have these stuffy pictures with a whole bunch of bullet points that has people's titles, and that just doesn't reflect our group at all. So this is the insane family that makes up the Augusta University ALS Clinic. So, you know, this is Dr. Michael Rivner down here in the bottom. This is Dr. Barnes over here in the middle top or the middle right side. And we just have a really great laid back group, and we have a lot of fun. Bottom right corner was a concert that me and the research team we went to. Well, Corey actually, he was my senior research assistant, did the concert, like organized it, and we all attended, and we just have a great group. So over here on the left is our ALS clinic, our therapists and things like that, our patient care assistants, and then a lot of you know Christy over here in the middle left with the red shirt on. She is my research associate, and she's my right hand. I really couldn't do a lot of the things that I do without her. So, but this is what makes up our team.
So if people are interested in enrolling, if they are from Georgia or surrounding areas, like who should they contact you?
Me.
How can they contact you? Yeah, so by email or?
Well, yes. So we have a neuromuscular research email address that it goes to a group box that is pretty much the whole research team, and it's neuromuscular_research at Augusta University or at augusta.edu. Good Lord, I'm sorry. But it's neuromuscular_research at augusta.edu, and or the phone is always easy, and I can share that information with y'all if y'all have anybody that is interested. But we are the thank you. Yes, that's it. But yes, we are the primary contact for people who are interested in research, and we will get them established in the clinic first, and then we will schedule them for research after we confirm diagnosis.
Great. So can you tell us more about, I know that you joined the platform trial more recently, but I know you have extensive experience in doing ALS research. So can you tell us more about, you know, if somebody with ALS is seen at your clinic, how do you help them decide if clinical research is right for them?
Well, a lot of times, Dr. Rivner, Dr. Barnes, they will talk to patients, and they mention our research program because research is very important to us, because ultimately we don't feel like there's ever going to be a cure for ALS if we don't research it. You know, we have to find it. And so it helps that we have two physicians that are highly dedicated to ALS research. And so, you know, they talk to our patients about it. Sometimes patients are very interested very early on, and when that happens, you know, they meet me very early on. If they're a little more hesitant, you know, we give them time. You know, getting a diagnosis of ALS is a devastating thing, and we don't want to pressure them and make them feel like we're trying to force them to do anything. And so we let them get comfortable with us as a staff, and once they get comfortable with us as staff, you know, they learn to trust us. And when they trust us, and they trust our physicians, they are more likely to be interested in what we have going on. So and that's kind of how we get people interested in research. You know, we let them get to know us, and, you know, tell them about what we have going on. And we do, even if they're not, you know, if they're unsure, we just tell them what we have going on altogether. Like, we don't just pitch one or the other study. We give them kind of a brief overview of everything we have. Ask them if they're interested in any of it, and if there's something that they're more interested than the other, we'll give them a little more information about that particular thing instead of overwhelming them with everything. So you know, if they're interested in one thing or another, then those are the things we focus on.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know some of you personally, and I know you're great to be with. So definitely I would recommend, if you know anyone near Augusta University, if they're interested in research in neuromuscular diseases in general and ALS in particular, I think it's really great to contact Brandy and her team. Just a question before we move on to other updates. What's your favorite part of what you do?
Oh, it has to be the patients. So I myself am a neurology patient because I have a spinal cord injury, and so I know the struggle that having physical limitations can have. And so I came to neurology searching to get towards, you know, spinal cord injury type research and things, but I fell into ALS, and I absolutely fell in love with my patients, because, you know, the things that they're facing, and most of them are just still very optimistic. They go through their daily lives, like their daily everything, just with this over them. And, you know, I found the field in a time when I was struggling, like, I guess having a pity party for myself because I had to physically struggle. And then I meet all these patients who, you know, have this diagnosis that's way worse than anything I'll experience. And they were just so positive, and just being around the patients and how strong they are and how motivated they are to help others usually. It just, they motivated me to do better. So I love working with the patients. I love helping them, and I love being there when they need somebody. So I think the patients are really the best thing about working with ALS.
Thank you for that and for sharing. And I do see a comment in the Q&A box about you and your team. Somebody said, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say that the Augusta team is awesome. So thank you for that. So that's why we invited you, because we know you are great. And thank you for bringing research to people in your area. So that's great. And so I think we can, you know, if you have other questions or comments for Brandy, please type them as we go, as we move forward with a quick updates on the platform trial. If we can go to the next slide. For those of you who are following us on a weekly basis, as you know, we are now enrolling for 2 regimens, Regimens F and G. Regimen F is testing a drug that's manufactured by Calico in partnership with AbbVie, and Regimen G is testing a drug manufactured by Denali. So both are following sort of the same schema as all other regimens in the platform trial, where we have a randomization ratio of 3:1 active to placebo, so more options to have active drug than placebo, followed after the placebo control period by an active treatment extension. So we think this is a patient-centered design, and also by working together in collaboration with many other people, we can actually make progress faster. If we can go to the next slide, we currently have 53 sites activated for Regimen F, and I can tell you we are working quickly to try to activate all other sites. Next slide. And so far, great enrollment. There's been 74 participants who have been assigned to Regimen F so far since we launched there just a few weeks ago, and 54 have already been randomized within RGF. As you may remember, actually, maybe during a future webinar, we can remind the audience about sort of the structure, but in order to go and start treatment on Regimen F or any other regimen, that there is sort of a two-step process where people first need to sign consent to the master protocol, then being assigned to RGF, and then they can be randomized, meaning they can receive study drug within that regimen. That's why the numbers kind of flow from the top. But so far, we already have a good number of people randomized within Regimen F, and our enrollment goal is over 200 people. So really lots of spots and opportunities for people who are looking for a trial. Next slide. Regimen G is also active now at 10 sites, but slightly behind just because we started a couple of months later, but we'll definitely catch up, and we are again working hard to include all sites. Ultimately, the goal is for all these sites to offer FNG at the same time. It's just a matter of obtaining all the trainings and all the kind of the permits at the site level to be able to go with that, to go live with that particular regimen. But again, very soon we expect the map to fill up essentially and be the same for FNG. Next slide. And we did start randomizing participants within Regimen G as well. That's the link to the press release. Again, that was recent, May 30th. So we just started, but again, we expect the numbers to go up for Regimen G as well. Next slide. And if you want to check the status of the site next to you, please check the website, or you can always call Catherine and Alison and they can tell you. But essentially, again, we are working hard. That's our primary goal right now, to activate all sites. And then the sites, they know that the primary goal for 2023 is really to enroll as many participants as possible, because the sooner we enroll and complete enrollment, the sooner we will know the results of these two regimens. Next slide. And as always, we try to also advertise other webinars that might be of interest. In addition to this weekly series that we have on Thursdays, there's a lot of other great webinars that are happening from different groups, not only associated with the platform trial, but a number of other collaborators, patient groups, etc. And in particular, we really love many of the educational webinars that are run through the NEALS Consortium. And in particular, our colleagues, Dr. Andrews, Fournier, and Macklin, will give a great webinar on the statistics behind clinical trials. And so I think we had our statistician, Dr. Chibnik, come and join us for a series on biostatistics a while ago, and those webinars are recorded, and those are a great intro to statistics, and then for further context and more details, please join this webinar. Next slide. And this is the contact information for our team here. So thank you for joining us weekly. The ALS link is our newsletter so that you can get news about our webinars as well. And we're happy to be having more guest speakers coming up through the summer. I know Catherine has laid out a great plan in terms of connecting with different speakers who can bring their expertise to this group. And so we have Dr. Lada, who is the site investigator at BNI in Phoenix, Arizona. We will join us in a couple of weeks, and specifically we'll talk about lumbar punctures. He has done a lot of them and he really has great expertise, and we have a number of resources now to including a video, which is really great, to really better understand what the procedure entails. And then the following week, we will have Hilda from Beth Israel, another site in Boston, come and join us so that we can learn more about our great sites. And I think there's a few questions here. So a couple of questions in general about site activation. So a question is, there's a site in a city that's active but not kind of open for screening new participants for F. And so really this depends on site staffing. I don't know what city or site you are referring to. If you want to send that information to us, or if you want to contact Catherine, maybe they can help. Catherine can help you with some additional information. So what happens is that essentially, we activate sites, and then each site, then depending on their staffing, I know we know some sites have people who are out on leave or similar things, and sometimes they're not always able to be involved right away, but hopefully very soon. So please send the question to Catherine, and she can help you. So definitely there's a question about when do we expect completion of enrollment in FNG? Well, that will depend on the rate of enrollment. Again, we're doing everything we can to support sites and share news about the trial. So please know that there are literally hundreds of spots available at this point for FNG. So we certainly, if you can help us also share the news and get people involved, that would be great. And then we're working on this with the sites to support the enrollment. So there's a question about the Regimen G and Denali specifically. So we are planning on a webinar to better explain the science behind Regimen G. As you know, we do this for every regimen. And so specifically for Denali, Catherine, I think this is going to be July 20th. Is that what we're targeting?
Yep. So we have to submit to the IRB. So as long as we get IRB approval in time, we're aiming for this time slot. It'll be an hour-long webinar on July 20th. So the same Thursday slot at the end of July. Excellent.
And so there's also a question about, will Denali run a separate phase 3 trial after this? Again, that will depend on the results. You can definitely post the question on July 20th when the scientists from Denali will be here. But essentially, plans after the platform trial will depend on the results from the platform trial itself. And specifically a question about, again, Regimen G, what's the mechanism of action? Both Regimen F and G are targeting the same mechanism of action, the same target, which is the integrated stress response. They're obviously different compounds, so we need to test them individually. They may have different properties, but the underlying target is similar. And that's actually because that's an exciting target. And so we're happy to try to address that with not one, but 2 different drugs. And again, we really hope for good results there. There's a great comment here. Somebody said, that this person had a lumbar puncture yesterday for Regimen F for participation in that regimen. So thank you for that. First of all, thank you for participating. And so the specific question from this participant is that whether they'll be able to find out what biomarkers specifically are identified in this person's spinal fluid at some point. So these biomarkers will be run at the end of the study, sort of together. So it's definitely not possible to know the results kind of in real time, again, because these are novel biomarkers that will all be kind of analyzed towards the end of the study. These biomarkers are not clinical biomarkers yet. In other words, they don't they don't rise to the level of sort of what you would do when you go to a doctor's office and have a blood test for, let's say, cholesterol or diabetes or something else. These are still research biomarkers. So you'll be able to find out the overall results, but not the individual results. In fact, we're trying to publish results as quickly as possible after completion of each regimen. And so you'll be able to see kind of the group averages and exactly, the trends in the groups, not on an individual basis. So So there's a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions about people with specific genetic mutations, and so I would say that in general, obviously, you know, that's something to talk with your physicians about. You know, what trial is best for a particular person. So, for example, if somebody has C9 or SOD1, there are targeted or specific trials that target that particular mutation. So that's obviously, you know, something to consider in consultation with your physician. However, I do want to mention that the platform trial itself also is targeting all forms of ALS. So, so far, all these mechanisms have been broadly applicable. So we're not excluding any specific gene mutation for this trial. I would say that specifically for people who have SOD1 or a FAS mutation, there are other programs that are incredibly promising. So for SOD1, obviously tofersen was actually approved by the FDA, so that can be administered clinically. And for FAS, I do think that there's really a great trial led by Dr. Schneider at Columbia. It's another antisense oligonucleotide. It's not approved yet, but I think it's a very important trial. So for people who have SOD1 and FAS mutations in particular, I think that those targeted programs are probably, you know, the first choice at this point, given the excitement about the approval of tofersen and also the FAS antisense trial. For C9 or other forms of the disease where there isn't an approved drug for that particular form, I think, you know, again, the platform trial is really, you know, applicable. So there's great question about how to find out more about the science behind Regimen F. And so actually we do have quite a bit of resources. So Catherine, if you could help us maybe, and also for feel free to also email Catherine separately if it's hard for you to get the information from the chat. But essentially there are resources both on our website and we can also link to videos and webinars. We had a 1-hour video webinar on this series that you can go back to for more information, and we have brochures and other materials. And for the Regimen G, we will have those. We have some for G, not the webinar yet. That will happen on July 20th. And I think that both F and G are really equally promising and exciting. Again, the target is very important and broadly applicable. And so I think, you know, it's very important to essentially enroll as quickly as possible for both so that we can, you know, we can hopefully get positive conclusions for both. So with that, I think we're taking most of the, oh no, I didn't take this question. So there's a question about expanded access for the current regimens. So we have had those discussions with the companies. The companies will be back on this webinar again, Denali on the 20th. And I think we're going to have Calic on this webinar as well, right, Catherine? I'm forgetting the date or if that was finalized.
So, yep, the team from Calico, or at least Dr. Cho specifically, will be joining us the first Thursday of July. So after that holiday weekend, we'll be here.
Okay, wonderful. So for July, both, you know, scientists from the companies will be here. So you'll be able to, number one, ask questions about the science, about development plans, expanded access, etc. Again, all of that is things that we want to have the experts really comment on, and they'll be on this webinar. Somebody asked about enrollment numbers. Yes, we did mention them earlier, and we're very excited that we are really up and running for both F and G, and specifically for F. I believe 54 have been dosed within the regimen, but more have been assigned to it. So that means that basically when people join the platform trial, there is kind of a first step, which is a screening step, and then people are routed or you know, kind of assigned to specific regimens. So far 70 plus people have been already assigned to F, and 54 have actually been randomized within F. So lots of great progress there. So I think we took all of the questions, and I see that Catherine, you've been busy with the chat, so thank you for that. Lots of information. Now we have so many materials now that it's hard to keep up. Maybe, you know, again, maybe we can have a slide next time, or with links to the the website. Also, please go on our website. Catherine is really doing amazing work in collaboration with Alison and Juliana from our team and others. We're really posting a number of valuable resources, not to mention all the recordings of webinars with guest speakers, scientists from companies. We had a series on biomarkers, actually, that talk more about the biomarkers, etc. So lots of great material there. Oh, thank you, Catherine, for posting that. We do have a short video about lumbar punctures. I think we'll talk a little bit more about it next week, and also in 2 weeks when Dr. Lada, who made the video, will be on this webinar. So, Brandy, I'll leave you the final word. Anything that you want to share about your site, yourself, or your involvement with ALS?
No, I just actually wanted to thank y'all, because it feels like y'all actually listen to us when we talk. I think a lot of times when you have sponsors taking care of these studies, and you have all these different hands in the fire, they're like, what is actually happening at the sites tends to get lost. And you know, we had the meeting at the beginning of May, and we all expressed a lot of different things that we wished were like covered better or would be helpful if, and just like Catherine just sharing the video about the lumbar punctures, that was one of the things that, you know, we felt was hard for patients to understand, and having a resource to help with that would be useful, and here it is. So I just appreciate y'all listening to us as the site, what we have going on, and, you know, making changes and trying to help us help our patients. So it's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, basically, you know, we have this coordination center here at the Healy Center, but really our strength is really at the site level. All our wonderful sites, like Brandy's site in at Augusta University, and we have this network. We really want to bring everything to our patients close to where they live. So, and we try to continue to include improvements, new ideas, and so that's why we're here on the webinar. Yes, Brandy, we try to do things, you know, and based on suggestions from the sites, and we try to do our best also. You know, anything that you want to have available in terms of materials, brochures, videos, please send us your ideas, and we'll do our best to produce those materials. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
All right,
Thank you.